War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you are watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you hanging out with us for just a few minutes of your so hard-earned time just to sit down with us and just talk about what we love about all things Auburn. On this live stream, we're going to be discussing anything and everything Auburn, as is the custom for most of our Wednesday night live streams. Everything is on the table. Football, basketball, Auburn getting back to classes today. If you want to talk about that for some reason, we can get into that. It's pretty much fair game tonight. We always prepared with the topic at hand, and that is the question, is Auburn basketball right now the greatest team in the nation, the best team in the nation? That's something we can discuss tonight, but anything is fair game. It's also the headphones are on. It's all a call-in night. You can take advantage of the call-in link that is listed at the top of the chat window right now. A couple things to keep in mind as we do that tonight. We ask that you keep it family friendly, that you behave yourself, that, just basically be a good person. Not that we have problems like that, but I can imagine with a growing audience here, how those things sometimes get out of hand. But please do take advantage of that. We get a lot of regulars call in. I'd love to see some new faces. I don't bite. You can be that hard. You don't have to be on camera. It can just be audio only. It will bring up a little thing there that just shows like a little blank screen. But that is there for you if you'd like to take advantage of at the top of the chat window right now. Click on that link. It'll take you there. You can do it on mobile, all that kind of stuff. And if we get a bunch calling at the same time, just be patient. We'll get you in as soon as we can. That does happen from time to time. And I'll post the link in the chat as a reminder, even though it is posted up at the top there. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Just going to bounce around a lot. Saddle up. We're going to be bouncing all over the place, talking about whatever y'all want to talk about tonight. Most of y'all know the drill. Most of y'all already done it. But if you haven't, right now in the chat window, whether you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, by the way, you guys come on over to YouTube if you can, but it's over there if you want to watch it. Come on over here. But right now, post in the link in the chat window right now where you're watching from, city, state, international, with a War Eagle. Let me know who's here. We got a lot of our regulars here. Clint just, before even the stream got started, stopped by and said to the question I posed as the title, yes, is Auburn basketball the greatest team right now? Yes, they are. Linda, one of our channel members, or excuse me, Booster Club members, says so as well. There's Corey, another Booster Club member. Leanne K. Bayless is here. Good to see you guys so much. Thank you for being here and being here early. Dusty's in the house. Neil White. The memes video needs to be after every game. Well, let's talk about that because I want to make sure I handle a couple of things on that side. I like that video too, but there's some things I probably need to do a little bit better of. Devin's here. Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yes, and they know it. Both Green and Katie Johnson made eye contact with the camera last night mid-game. I have not seen in quite some time players connect with their fans the way that this team is doing. They have embraced the aspect that is not just about us. It's about the Auburn family. And they know that you're making memes, that you're paying attention. And so those winks, those stares at the camera, some probably see them as showmanship. And there's probably a little bit of that as well. But it's really because they love you. And I've never spoken to one of them in person, but I just get the feeling that it's a very that's for you, my Auburn family. It's a very cool thing to watch. On the memes video. So if you guys haven't checked that out, please do. I posted a video today. Usually when I do edited videos, I run them about 1 o'clock Eastern time. So if you want to look for those, if you're subscribed with the notification bell, you will always supposedly be notified when we go live or have an upload. But I would want to continue doing those. I need to do a better job this time when I was kind of coming up with the idea of doing it, just sharing some of the best ones that I found that I should have credited those people that do them. Now, granted, they're getting those photos and things from other places, but, I don't want it to feel like that I'm just trying to steal their stuff and just show it over here. But I genuinely thought it was a fun topic, and that's what our channel's about. Yeah, we're going to talk about sports. We're going to analyze it and all that kind of stuff. But it's more about just us being together and having fun as the Auburn family. So yes, Cohen, it will continue because it's been pretty successful so far. I just need to do a better job at a few things and how it'll change going forward. Unbeaten Lake is already ready to move on to Ole Miss. I really want to see how we do against their zone. They've given us problems with it in the past. It's not just their zone. We talked about this last night. By the way, we had a humongous crowd at our post-game show last night. We broke, I think currently it's like almost 2,000 people have watched it thus far, but we had about almost 200 watching live at any one given time, people coming in and out and stuff like that. So humongous crowd. Kudos to all of you that were there last night. Y'all were a great crowd. But yeah, we talked about it last night and said that Ole Miss tends to have our GOAT in basketball. Don't know why that is. It's not an Andy Kennedy thing because he hasn't been there for a while. Kermit Davis is a great coach. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough in Oxford to get that win. And if we get past that and we're not ranked number 2 or number 1, I'm going to be very, very upset. And listen, this is me, the guy who tells you day in and day out that rankings should not and really don't matter in most things. But I kind of want to see it now. I'm on board with it. And Russell's already talking about it as well, about the high ranking. It's going to feel good. Neil says that Auburn has the best complete team in the country, in his opinion. It does. I would agree with you. And the completeness is not so much about the starters. It's about the bench. When you have bench warmers, and I'd say that with every ounce of respect that I can because they deserve it, that will start on other people's teams, that's outstanding. That's a great problem to have. The blessing, there's been a phrase not related to this, but the blessing of size, the blessing of depth is what we have here. It is absolutely outstanding. Corey says, what do you think about Joe Bernardi for a potential new analyst for the offense? And I'm guessing you're talking about football, and we will do that a lot on this show. So just saddle up because we'll bounce around a lot. Honestly, I do not analyze the analyst all that much. Personally, this is I think I may have heard this like on the side, but I know we got Mike Hartline, the former Kentucky quarterback, to come be an analyst here recently. I really don't have an opinion on him. I mean, I know that's boring, but it's just not something that I really invest a lot of time in. That doesn't mean you can't, but it's not my cup of tea. Blue Eagle checking in. Thanks for being here. Also, Niceville, Florida, also here. Thanks for being here. Imani, I'm all Auburn through and through. I don't know if we're the number 1 team, but we're close. We just need to keep winning and prove that we're the number 1 team. Well said. Yeah, I think that Auburn has plenty of flaws. The basketball team that were exposed a little bit last night that could keep people from wanting to put them at number 1. And there will be people that find excuses for not putting them at number 1. Some very bitter people, but it's not the end of the world if we don't get to that number 1 thing there. Felix is in the house. Good to see you. By the way, Felix, I sent you a message on the Patreon app. Go check it out over there in the Booster Club. I sent you a message. Make sure you check that out. He is one of our channel member, Booster Club member combo guys. You're awesome. Perception wise, the high ranking will help Auburn the longer we stay top 3-ish. I think I understand what you're saying there, Russell. The ranking doesn't really help. You're saying perception-wise, yes. It could hurt you in the long run because then you become the hunted, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I'm just going to enjoy the fact wherever we get that we're that high. Iron the kinks out and then call yourself number 1. Act like it. How about this? It doesn't matter who ranks us where, who thinks we're this good, not that good. However you play, however you believe yourself to be on the court is going to really be what matters. All right, a couple reminders again. If you want to take advantage of the call-in link at the top, please do so. Don't be shy. Anybody can call in at this point. If you haven't, do smash that like button. It does help the stream out. You can also do that on Facebook and Twitter. And those are the big things that you can do to help us during the stream tonight. We got a new channel member in Cohen. What's up, my man? Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube channel member here. You guys can do that as well if you'd like. It's $1 a month. You get access to little emojis, little icons next to your name, and our commitment to try to get to your comments every time we can. So thank you, Cohen, so much for signing up to help support our content here. Felix says, sure do get a lot of fouls when Auburn goes to Alabama court. Just an observation. It is a very honest observation, and it is a very true observation. It doesn't matter what the sport is. It does seem to be the tendency for Alabama to get the home cooking. And, you know, it happens everywhere. It's not just exclusive to the Auburn-Alabama rivalry or home situations anywhere. You just, you know, it's one of those things that I wish somebody would kind of, some of these people that like statistics do go like check out the trends on this thing and see if there is something like happening legitimately there, like a trend at least that we can point to and say, no, you are getting the calls more often than not when we're at your place, whether it's football, basketball, those things. And I know that's petty, but it is it's how I feel about it. Russell says perception recruiting wise, new fans. And yes, totally agree with our enjoyment. Us Auburn fans have paid our dues and then some. If you've been through the Tony Barbie days, and I know that you don't speak of him here, but I did anyway, those days were very, very unfun. And I was there for a lot of them. Jeff Lebo, he was getting things figured out, it seemed like, and then it just kind of took a nosedive for him. Not a nosedive. I think he had like one really bad season, and then they'd kind of, you see this a lot of times. There's renovations, there's investments and amenities that need to be made, but most people don't, that donate that money, don't want to give that till they get the guy they don't like out of there. Am I speaking about something recently? I might be. And it's very sad that that's what it takes for people to fork over the money that have it, but it is the world that we live in. Yes, everybody give props to Mr. Cohen for joining as a channel member. We got Michael checking in on Facebook. Thanks for being here. Let's address the elephant in the room. How does it feel to get spanked twice in a 2-day span? Talking about Alabama. You know, has anybody looked up the rest of the schedule for Alabama athletics? I don't care that much, but if somebody else wants to invest time and go into that website to see what their schedule looks like for the rest of the week, I want to know who it is and in what sport, and can we keep this good vibes going? You know, can we make sure that they continue to lose the rest of the week? Because this 48 hours for them has been the absolute pits. I mean, not only do you lose the national championship game, not only do you go and basically almost get run over by Auburn, but you get you come back and then you have it taken away from you at the end, and then just get unloaded on with the memes and the social media post and making fun of the Crimson Crane kick. It's been a rough 24 or 48 hours for them. It really, really has. Dusty pointing out that Dylan Cardwell has stepped up big after several questionable calls on Walker Kessler. And this, when we talk about depth, when we talk about being well-rounded, this is what we're talking about. It's not so much about the starters being well-rounded in all aspects of the game. It's about the entire team. When one person goes out, everybody else steps up. Dylan Cardwell had some great moments last year, but if you just look at the tape last year, you're probably like, well, he's still going to see limited time. No, he's gotten better, you can tell, and he has earned more time, because when he comes in, there's very little drop off, if ever. Is it a different skill set to Walker Kessler? Well, clearly he's leading he was at least leading the nation in blocks. It's hard to do that when you get questionable calls on you to limit your playing time, but there is that. Let's see here. Doug Barry says Alabama equals dense cabbage. It's interesting, but I guess I agree with that. Checking in from Eastern Kentucky, and I remember your comment from yesterday. Good to see another Eastern Kentucky person in here where Wendell Green came from. We are very happy to have him over here. Unbeaten Lake. I don't think teams will be able to beat our offense. Been proven when we get put up 70 on LSU. To beat us, they will have to have their best offensive performance they've had all year, like UConn. That's a great point. I do think that there's other ways to beat Auburn. I think to be in the best position to beat Auburn, you have to have a great offensive performance, not your best of the year, but a great one. I think you got to take Walker Kessler out of the game, and then you got to hope that the guards are struggling too in all aspects of the game. They've been a little bit wild at times and a little bit loose and free with some basic things, but it hasn't really come back to bite them yet. If those three things collide, you're going to see some people beat Auburn. But I would agree that it starts with them having a great offensive night themselves, because Auburn is very well rounded in a lot of aspects of the game. They could be better at free throws, turnovers, but it's going to take best efforts from opponents to beat Auburn right now. Baseball is coming up. We can make it a trifecta. Well, that's a little bit delayed. I'm looking for right now this week, Corey. I want Alabama to suffer more this week, and that's not till February when baseball gets started. So that takes a little bit of time. Anybody else have a heart attack when Jabari and the teammate fell? I can't remember who crashed down with him. So it was Jabari and Katie collided, but people even forgot that back behind them was Wendell Green, who got fouled on that shot. Well, at least run over and not the foul not called. But yeah, there was a potential there that three of Auburn's most important players, the three most successful last night, were going to be injured all at the same point. And that got very troublesome for at least a moment there. I held my breath, definitely. Yeah, the Bama fans, as much as they love to talk, it's not been one of those times where they've had a lot of room to say much things. So it's nice to hear the silence coming out of Northwest Alabama, where they're centralized and located. They're everywhere. It's like the plague. They affect everywhere. But, sometimes you forget about them when you've got them under control. Great question, Carrie. That's one of the things I did want to discuss tonight if it came up. He asked, what do you think about the two linemen we got, meaning we get to keep because they're staying, Nick Brahms and Austin Troxell? Look, I have been in no short of criticism about the offensive line play this year. I also had high hopes that they were going to figure it out this year after they had been together for most of them, the majority of them, for 3-4 years now. And it didn't happen. A lot of those have now left. Two of them had decided to stay, that being Nick Brahms and Austin Troxell. And not to say that, one is better than the other, but I always kind of felt like, if we had to have some holdovers from this current offensive line unit, those were probably the two, Nick Brahms especially. I think that will go a long way to a year where we're looking to transition to the new offensive line structure, the new rotation, because it has been high time to move on from that. Will they bring in some transfers? I hope so. But it starts with recruiting, and it starts with bringing in some solid offensive linemen as freshmen and not just relying on Band-Aids to cover you up for the rest of the year and the rest of a couple of years. So I'm excited about having them back. I think they see the value for themselves, but they see the value in coming back for one more year for Auburn. And I'm glad the coaches were able to help convince them. I don't know that it took that much to convince them, but I'm sure they had a hand in that. Well, it's always fascinating to me that people go spend time on those places, but I'm sure last night was just precious. Bama fans on Roll Bama Road were so upset last night. Some are wanting to poison the trees again. Well, I wouldn't put it past them. Quick story. I used to live downtown Auburn for my last 2 years of college there. The building is now in a same area, just different location. It's not really important. The Auburn BCM, the Baptist Campus Ministries. I lived above that. I was one of the building residents that took care of the building. He came down there and did that while I was sleeping, probably not 100 yards away from him. Yes, it was about a tree and poison, but to this day, that just gives me the creeps. And it also makes me upset knowing that I could have done something about it. Makes me very upset. It's a tree. It's not the grandest thing, but it was still important to us in the Auburn family. And it just burns me up. And I know he's passed on and we need to, think of his family and stuff like that. But, oh, man, when I think about that time. Thank you for reminding everybody to hit up that like button. It's always helpful that you guys can do that. Let's see here. I think our team has better endurance than the rest. Takes a lot to beat us. And that's the type, well, think about the type of offense we run. And it's not even offense, just the looseness he lets them play with. They're used to running and gunning. You know, you heard of the fun and gun offense with Steve Spurrier, I think it was, and others. Then you would understand this is probably the equivalent to that. All right, let's see here. Dusty says, I listen to your podcast with Auburn memes. I have my own thoughts. I'd like to call in whenever my sinuses don't make me sound like Louis Griffin. Well, please do call in whenever you can. I think the people want you to call in. Linda does, at least. Let's see here. I realized in 2021 that I could make up for the lack of Auburn fans in my area with the internet. Good to see you, WT Gardner. Okay, I might have to skip ahead a little bit on some of these things, but want to try to keep up with most of the comments as we come in, since it's all about you guys tonight. Neil, I will never forget listening to Paul Feinbaum's radio show when he called in to tell him he poisoned the trees. I was at work listening, almost fell out of my chair. So I was listening that day too, and I do not like Paul Feinbaum in his show, and for no other reason, just he's not my cup of tea. Never met the dude. He's probably a lovely dude in person, but he does not present that in his on camera persona. But for some reason, I was listening that day, and I heard it live, and I was crossing the interstate, the main Auburn exit, leaving down College and going across the interstate to the other side, and I didn't believe it when I heard it. It's a typical Bammer calling into the Paul Feinbaum show. And it was true. I started getting rumblings that it was true, as the day went on, and I started hearing some people around, campus and people that were in the know about these certain things. And I was like, are you kidding me? I listened to this happen live, and this happened 100 yards from me while I was sleeping. Made me very upset. Let's see here. After losing the championship game, Bama had a few of their players get in the transfer portal. You think we'll get any of those players? That's a great question. You don't see a lot of transfers from Auburn to Alabama or Alabama to Auburn. It does happen, though. I believe it happened recently for Auburn to Alabama, but the most recent one that I can think of for Alabama to Auburn, Corey Grant. And I remember taillights, as Rod Bramblett would call it. Yeah, you don't really see that happen a lot. Georgia to Auburn happens a lot. Even though we're big rivals, there's enough of a disconnect there. Usually, if you go to Alabama, even for a remote amount of time, you hate Auburn. If you go to Auburn for even a remote amount of time, you hate Alabama. It's just the way that it happens. Yeah, Russell, we're just talking about Corey Grant there. That's one good example, at least. Imani, Auburn is going to be tough to beat if Flanagan plays to his ability. I also believe Jabari Smith playing this way to be the number one pick. Auburn can win the national championship. Yes. Auburn is very well equipped to compete for the national championship. Will they win it is the bigger question. And there's a lot of season left. There's a lot of difficulties left to overcome for me to feel comfortable that we should be expected to win it. I will stand firm on my prediction that Auburn should make it to the Elite Eight at the bare minimum. Anything else would be a major upset and a major disappointment. And I'm not even prepared to commit to a prediction of the SEC tournament, because anything can happen there. I mean, we saw Auburn in first year with Bruce Pearl make it to the semifinals. That just never happens. It's just a lot can transpire there, but I'm more worried about the end of the tunnel there, the actual March Madness. All right, let's see here. Carrie says it would be good if we could get Kyron Lacey, more competition and talent on the wide receivers room. Competition makes everyone better. Absolutely, it does. I say bring anybody here, no matter where they're from, who wants to be here. I'm all for it. It's like this conversation with the whole, I think everybody's realized now that, I'm saying as of this moment, things can change, that Caleb Williams is not coming. Like I thought he wasn't going to. Now, if I'm wrong tomorrow or the next day, hallelujah, bring him in. If all the 5-star quarterbacks all want to come to Auburn for some odd reason, Bring them in. The more, the merrier. The competition makes everybody better. Former 4-star transfer from Georgia has interest in us. Entered a couple of hours ago. Would not be surprised. It happens a lot. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. I'd just be like, here we go again. Taking the people that Georgia didn't want to invest time in. And it usually bites them in the butt. Dusty is calling for it. I can't get there. Any truth that Kessler sneezed today and the refs gave him a technical? WT Gardner, if that happened, you can be dang sure that those refs drove to where he was and issued him a red card, which isn't even the same sport, because that's how ridiculous they were last night. Don't get me started on that. The problem with predicting college basketball is that March Madness is truly March Madness. Anybody can fall, which is why it is important for you to stay as healthy as possible, which is why it's important for you to get a good seeding. So if you're a number 1 overall seed, which I think at this moment seems a pretty good likelihood for Auburn, the way they're competing, that means you face the 16 seed. Very rarely happens. So you can at least expect to win the first game. Whoever you get of the 8 to 9 seed match on your side can be a little bit tricky. Typically, it doesn't happen a lot that the 1 seed gets beat that situation, which means that you're, usually expected to be in the finals for that region, or not the region, excuse me. That wouldn't be the region finals yet, but to the Sweet 16, facing probably a 4 seed or a 5 seed, unless there's major upsets there. March Madness is going to be crazy. But I still think that Auburn, the way they're playing, the talent they have, they should be expected to make to the Elite 8. Be a disappointment and a huge upset at this moment if that does not happen. All right. Again, if you haven't, please do take advantage of the call-in number. Well, it's listed up there in the chat window, whichever. It's always mirrored here. I can't, if it's over here on this side of you guys. Click on that. It can you can be live right here on camera or off. Do it from the mobile phone. It's really easy. Love to hear from some of y'all tonight and what you're thinking about in the Auburn athletics, Auburn general commentary. As I said, we'll bounce around a lot of different places tonight. Anybody starting at Auburn today? I know that's a little off the topic here, but I like to kind of bring in some random things from time to time. Anybody just tell me, yes, no. What are they studying there? I know this sounds ironic, but I miss college a lot, and I miss the academic side of it, because I really enjoyed my final year at Auburn and the classes I was taking. And it's one of those things where you walk away very proud of that education you got when you walk across that stage. Sorry, a little quick plug for Auburn, the academic side there, but I was just interested in if anybody else had know anybody starting today. Heard rumor that we're pursuing Noah Cain. Not sure the validity of that, but I have no interest in him. He's the running back, correct? If that's true, I don't see that we need him necessarily. But again, if he wants to come, let him come. I'm not going to be upset if we have just a room full of excellent at any position. But they're just rumors. Things get started. Players follow this part. Yeah, I'm always intrigued by why everyone gets excited when a player follows someone or an account or something like that. Now, it's quite interesting when the Auburn football specific account starts following them, if they haven't done that already during a certain timing. Speaking a lot about the Caleb Williams situation here, but it's always interesting to me. It's like, you do realize these recruits love to mess with fans. It's just part of the thing now, to do. So I just don't get too invested in any rumors until I really start to see some smoke coming from that supposed fire. Sometimes the smoke that you're seeing is from something that someone tried to get started and has already been put out. That's the way I like to think about it. Tyler says, graduated in 2008, 2011 for me. I got to be there for the championship year. Linda says, is Austin Davis in town yet? My understanding is that he is finishing out with the Seattle Seahawks. And are they in the playoffs? I do not follow the NFL outside of the fantasy football league that I do. So I'm just not super invested in professional football because it's just not as fun to me. But I will watch the playoffs and things like that. So if he's done with the Seahawks, I would imagine he's in town. Let's see here. I think he's waiting until February, but here Auburn has a better chance than LSU fans would like. Game changer, apparently. Noah Kane. Okay. Seattle is garbage. No playoffs for them. Season is over. Well, then I would say his obligations are completely met, and he should be on campus if he's not already. He's been working. I would assume that there was agreements made how much time he could spend recruiting, speaking to players on the Auburn side, and maintaining his duties with them. And in fact, I said this from the very beginning. He was a quarterback coach, not an offensive coordinator at Seattle. I would imagine it would not been hard to slowly move him out of the equation and start inserting him more here at Auburn. So I would say, even without knowing the definitive truth on that has happened. Just feeling out the situation overall. Davis is in town. Had a meeting with Harsin yesterday. There you go. Devin knows, so we're going to trust Devin. The brackets, as of right now, they have Auburn 1 seed playing Central Arkansas, 16th seed in the Midwest. Haven't heard of them at all. Honestly surprised they're a team. So I would say at this moment we're in pretty good position to beat them. Think how long it took for a 16 seed to beat a 1 seed for it never happened until recently. And I just wouldn't expect that to happen. Now, if it happens to Auburn, if they're a number 1 seed, boy, can you imagine the ridicule that we're going to take, and I have to be willing to take it. Linda, I thought Harsin would introduce him to us. That's a great point. Typically, you don't see an introductory press conference for, the positional coaches. So your running backs coach, your defensive backs coach, all that kind of stuff. Offensive and defensive coordinators, you do see usually an introductory press conference. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's not. So that's interesting. I haven't heard why that is. It's probably something to do with that. It's obvious that he's in sort of a minor offensive coordinator role as of this moment, with Harsin having his hand heavily on this and calling the plays, as far as we know. So I would suspect that it's one of those things that you probably have to earn before you get that, but we'll hear him. I'm sure usually what happens in spring practice is you'll have you'll have the coach interview, the head coach interview, then you have some couple players, and then you'll hear from the positional coaches and offensive and defensive coordinators. So we'll hear from him by the spring, if not. And you never know. Maybe he is going to get to announce some surprises on offensive recruits for us in February for the actual signing day, the one that was supposed to be the main signing day. What does this Auburn team have to do to earn the privilege of a song? Talking about basketball, we got Chuma Okiki. I think the guy that did that tried to do another one for a different year, and obviously didn't really go all that viral. You might get one. Never say never. That one came out of the blue, and I wouldn't put it past Son of Crow, I think his name is, or the alias he goes by on social media. He's probably working on that right now. Probably having something to do with Jabari. I don't want to come up. I'm not musically talented or gifted anyway, so I really don't need to invest time in doing that, because I'll just hurt you guys' ears. But it'd be funny, Doug. It would be funny. The Davis hire seemed like a letdown at the time, but I'm actually excited to see what he can do. Cohen, I'll be honest, I'm kind of with you. It wasn't a letdown to me, but I was really hoping we would see a return of Jeff Grimes, who was our offensive line coach here at Auburn for the championship run, with Gene Chizik coming back to be offensive coordinator. He's had some pretty decent success at Baylor and being a offensive line, run game focused guy. That's what I love, and that's what I would have wanted. Now, Austin Davis being brought in, not really a hint of where we're going to be heading offensively just because of his hire. It really is just what Harsin wants us to be at this point. He's going to be focused on the quarterbacks, and I'm sure slowly but surely taking over more offensive responsibilities. And, maybe after year one, he's fully in the driver's seat in that regard. Dusty, man, sorry you're not feeling well, but thank you for stopping by. Hope you get better, and we'll chat again soon. I know a lot of people are getting sick with C+, as I call it here, so I don't get dinged. I know a lot of people personally done that. I've had it myself several months back. Probably will get the other one again, but I hope you all do. Just take care of yourselves and stay safe. This isn't a PSA to wear certain items or do certain things. This is simply just take care of yourself and others. That's all I'll say on that much. How long did it take a 16 seed to beat 1 seed? I would guess 40 minutes, unless it went to overtime. Very funny, playing off the Pat Dye thing. I know people are going to miss having Dusty go on a rant tonight, but he needs to be. We can't just get a Dusty rant that is not at his fullest potential because he's sick. So he needs to rest up and save it for another night. Tyler, Wendell seems like the kind of kid who would write a song about the team himself. Yeah, I could see that. That's a great point, Tyler. It'd be hilarious if he did that personally, but Dylan Cardwell, I think, is in that vein. We know he can't sing based off the tip-off at Toomer's event, but we do. Maybe he can write one. Maybe they're working on it right now. Neil, not to change the subject. We can change the subject. It's Wednesday night. We do this bouncing around a lot. But did you know Bama has a player named Kool-Aid? Yes, Kool-Aid McKinstry. We wanted him here badly, and he chose Alabama over us. I think that's not his given name, if I'm correct. I think that's the name he had it changed to. But regardless, it's not my cup of tea of what I would go by or name my kid. But everybody's got their preferences in life. All right, we got our first caller tonight, Mr. Ryan, one of our freaks. How you doing?
Good. I want to touch on a few subjects. It's gonna be bouncing around football, basketball. So
let's do it.
First, I want to talk about the basketball team, and I love winning. Everyone does, but
Dude, how much do you love winning?
Cost.
It does come at a cost,
and we may be at a point where the fan base might be too toxic, and it might lose us to recruit not only in basketball but maybe football down the line.
In what way?
Parents will bring up the toxicity and say, hey, is it safe for my child to play here?
Mm-hmm.
And say, hey, are they going to be safe and respected by the community?
Are you talking about the memes, or are you talking just about generally talking on social media?
Generally talking on social media, how quick we are to criticize players, or like the replies and memes. I know the memes are funny and all, but and then parents will bring up, look, these fans are quick to jump to conclusions. Will that hurt my player's self-esteem and confidence in a way?
I hear you on that. So I'll give you a quick little spiel about that, because I think it's a good topic to bring up. I know there's a lot of ranging opinions on this, and you're probably even going to see some in the chat right now. But this is one thing that Dusty was wanting to talk about, but he's not feeling well tonight. If we're talking about meme stuff, my thing is, if you are in the game in sports, you understand, especially with rivalries and stuff, there's a little bit of a back and forth that you give each other. So I think you said it as well. The memes are not really what you're talking about, but there's kind of an understanding of we're going to go after each other. It just don't make it personal and things like that. But what I will agree with you with is there is a certain idea that needs to be discussed and addressed more about being, the only way I can phrase it is too negative about players and coaches online and each other, frankly. And yes, that is something that is being used against us. Does it make that much of a difference? Probably not, but it's not helping. And that was, we discussed that in a podcast this week. I don't know if you listened to that one or not. It was here on the YouTube
channel. I haven't got a chance yet.
Go check it out, because I think some of the things that you're talking about, we addressed in that. So I think the important thing for people to take away from this topic is not, well, someone's wrong or someone's right in this instant. It's more of, let's just be better. I think that's the biggest thing you can take away from that.
Another thing, right? Sorry for interrupting you, but
no, you're good. Go ahead.
I'm gonna jump to a whole different topic right now.
I love it.
In our QB room, in our situation there, because I have seen all different reports. First of all, the rule of thumb when you're doing anything related to sports, Do not trust some dude with like 20 followers. Rule of thumb number one.
Mm-hmm.
Rule of thumb number two. Well, there's not a rule of thumb. I've seen some mixed reports out there. Jeff Lee said Auburn has a chance. Multiple reporters said Caleb Williams didn't like UCLA and USC. He's
Mm-hmm.
probably going to visit Georgia, I've heard, and Auburn later in the week.
Right.
I like Zach Calzada. I've seen him develop. I don't know if Austin Davis can like push him. He's more of a Brian Harsin type guy. We're looking for a strong arm, multiple read guy.
Okay.
That's toughness. He might be more of a locker room guy and bring him in, have him develop. And if we don't get Caleb, I'm totally fine with Zach being our number one day guy.
Yeah.
But if we're looking to push for that national championship, we need more than Zach Calzada, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, I think you should always plan and hope to win a national championship. You know, that's the goal, right? You don't go into a season expecting to be 6 and 7. But you also have to be realistic. And Caleb Williams is not going to win us a national title. If that's what we go into thinking getting him, then we're going to be sorely
I'm not saying him alone. I'm just saying with our defense and everything else.
Oh, no. I get that. But, you know, in my opinion, it's very rare for one piece of the puzzle to come in like a Cam Newton, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the perfect example right there, and just change everything. I don't know that Caleb Williams is that. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit it here live on the air. I'm very happy with all our options. I think we got an extra one with Zach Calzada, and I'm excited for what they can potentially pull off next year.
I'm also excited for what all these. Have you been hearing all the offensive line transfers and visits?
I've been hearing a lot about them, and we haven't really gotten any of those transfers. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that.
And then I saw that Austin Davis finally arrived on campus, so that's exciting news.
A lot of exciting news these days.
I'm more excited about number one, our basketball program. Number two, I am very, very hesitant in this. My only thing scaring me this season to jump into conclusions, I'm very scared for a wide receiver room.
I understand that.
We have Cedric Jackson, who's by all means a great receiver, but he's not our number one guy.
Right.
If we want to go and get a number one guy, Mario Williams would be great.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard too much of him to Auburn. But we need like a solidified number one dude. By all means, Cedric Jackson is not a number one guy. Love the dude. But he's a number two, a slot guy, if you will.
I think he's a number one in the sense that he's the leader, right? The Cody Burns role guy that takes up the mantle of I'll do what I need to do, and I'll probably have some great games. And, you know, I'll probably be the leading receiver for some games like he was this season. But I think Shed understands what role he's found himself in, and I think he's embracing that. I think that's why he came back. And I respect the dude a lot for that because, you know, he received a lot of ridicule at times. Some of it was warranted.
And
but
what do you think,
he's a good one to have.
And what do you think these talks between Brian Harsin and these players to get all these guys come back? We just saw 2 more offensive linemen. And what's the name? The dude that returned during the Auburn basketball game last night.
Ikuliota.
What do you think the conversation was between Harsin? Do you think they had a general team meeting or individual conversation with each guy and told him what their role is going to be next year?
I would imagine he did a team meeting with everybody at the end of the year, and it was more than likely individual roles because you don't want to. Or actually, you know, it's a good question because I could see a case where he brings in Nick Brahms and Austin Troxel together and says, "Hey guys, I know you may have talked to them individually too, but you know, we really could use the 2 of you being our leaders on this offensive line, and you probably could get some benefit out of it." So it may be one of those things where, you know, maybe Austin, just for instance, I don't know this, was maybe thinking about leaving, and maybe Nick was thinking about staying. If you get them in the room together, talking through things together, the vibes start flowing. It's a good thought to have. I would imagine it was more individually, but I could see some value to doing it together.
And then, do you think people in that locker room love Harsin's plan and Harsin's system and what he's envisioning? And more than we actually thought, and it shows more, not because of the record, but because of what he plans, and they're bought into that, even though they had a down year this year.
Are they buying into his system, even though the results haven't yet? I think the results of who you see coming back, a lot more than I think that we would have anticipated coming back, shows that people have bought into his system and want to be a part of it. They see value for themselves, right? Some of these players are coming back to get better in the draft, but a lot of them just want to be a part of this. And so I think there's a lot of buy into it. And those that are leaving, just because they didn't buy into it doesn't make them a bad player or make them a bad option for us, but it does just means it wasn't a good fit for them. And there's nothing wrong.
Or do you think we have a wave of transfers coming in, and there's going to be a big name splash guy that made everyone's day say, look, we can maybe win a national championship with this squad?
It's obviously highly possible, and we'll find. The only thing to do is wait and find out. You got one more question for me?
I do. Who do you think's calling plays? Is it Harsin, or does it mean a mix of Zach Calzada's system? Not Zach Calzada, my bad. Austin Davis's system.
Brian Harsin is going to be calling plays. I don't know that. I haven't spoken to them, but I can guarantee you. I shouldn't say guarantee. I would bet that Brian Harsin will be calling plays at least to start off the first half of the season.
So Austin Davis will be like doing the QB side of things, and then the play calling side will be Harsin's side.
Yes, and then I would imagine there would be some assistance from his end over there.
Okay, because I was wondering that, because Austin Davis, he didn't really call plays at Seattle. He didn't really need to. He's never called plays in his entire career. So I was wondering,
but he's got to start somewhere, and he'll start that here. Hey, buddy, I appreciate you calling in tonight, hanging out with us for a little bit.
You see that poster, by the way? That's Chris Davis.
I see it, man. Love it. Wish it was on my wall behind me. But I appreciate you calling in.
Pristine Auctions. Gotcha.
Pristine Auctions. War Eagle, buddy.
War Eagle.
All right, that was Ryan. He's one of our regulars. You can call in too if you'd like. Just click the link. You know, I'll say this because I see a lot of people that lurk in the. Never mind. I'm not even going to do it tonight. It's not even worth it. All right, Clint's here, by the way. If you haven't seen Clint, Clint's one of my good friends, interesting guy. He loves the uniforms. If you're not following him, you should be. Cohen, I don't like guaranteeing things because then I have to face the facts on it. It might have happened this year already. Does high school recruiting even matter anymore? It's a great question. It matters less, I think, with the transfer portal, but it still matters. It's just changed the game of the way you have to plan out your roster. It's changed the game of the way, you recruit these guys. It's probably not a question of does it matter anymore. It's just how has it changed it for the good or for worse or better. Imagine Auburn basketball winning the national championship, ultimate redemption arc. We got a Kentucky fan in the house. Wow, Auburn has been playing amazing. If Cal were to leave in the next few years, I wish we would go after Pearl. Don't think our chicken AD would. Don't you dare touch my Bruce Pearl. Don't you dare touch Bruce Pearl. Thanks for being here, though. We're excited to play y'all. Auburn and Kentucky have had really great games and almost a rivalry. I would say a rivalry that's developed between them since Bruce Pearl got here. And it's become where we used to look at the Kentucky as an automatic loss, as now we're competitive. And I think you guys enjoy that as well. Because I can imagine there's probably this part of Kentucky fans like, who's going to face us, right? For the longest time, there'd be like one other team in the league. But, you got Auburn now. You got Tennessee that's every once in a while good. Alabama tries to be good when they can't beat Auburn. I'll hand them another L tonight. LSU as well. So, yeah, I enjoy playing Kentucky. It's one of those things that I relish playing now, and I don't dread seeing them. Carrie asked, did we go after Jackson Dart? So Jackson Dart is the quarterback at USC who went in the transfer portal with Lincoln Riley, deciding to come back and all that kind of stuff. So here's my just flat out take on the quarterback situation. I think we got plenty of quarterbacks. I don't see a reason why, other than they just want to be here. And then if that's the case, they don't want to go anywhere else, just take them. Why we would go after anyone else. You got who you wanted and needed. Wanted's probably a term that people will debate, but There's plenty of very capable quarterbacks in our room. And I think personally, we should be done outside of someone just saying, nah, I don't want to go anywhere else. Will you at least take me and give me a shot? Yeah. Lurking calls out Clint. Clint is the ultimate lurker. Clint's always lurking in the background. You just never know it. Love you, buddy. Why would Pearl leave for Kentucky? Money. I think Bruce Pearl sees the value in being in Auburn and realized that he found a family that values him far beyond many others. Coach Sonny Smith, who I have all the respect for in the world, I've gotten to interview him. He's an incredible person from everything I can tell, but a great coach for Auburn, arguably Auburn's best basketball coach, be the Shug Jordan of basketball. But outside of it, you got Cliff Ellis as well. And then there's a few other names in there as well. But there's really no one that's just taken a hold and said, I am the face of Auburn basketball in terms of coaching. Bruce has an opportunity to be that here and to solidify that and be the name of Auburn basketball for the foreseeable future. And I think he sees that. You go to Kentucky, you're a fish in a very big pond of very big names. And listen, he may go. I just don't see a good reason for him to go. That's like asking if the draft matters, asking when we were talking about the high school thing. Caleb Williams to Auburn would break the internet. I don't know if it'd break the internet, but as much as people have been anticipating it, things would definitely get very interesting there. Calzoni. I've said this for a long time here. There are several businesses in Auburn that if you are not making the calzoni, you need to do it. Let's see here. We got a little bit of time left. We're not wrapping up just right now. In fact, let me go ahead and do this. We're not going away just now, but I always want to get this in before it gets too late. If you haven't, please do check out some of the links in the description for ways that you can support our content here. One of those being you can become a channel member. Cohen did it tonight. It's $1 a month, really 99 cents. That's all it takes to sign up. You get emojis, you get little icons next to your name, and you get to know that you're supporting our content here. It helps bring it out every week. You could take it a step further and become either, or in addition to, a Booster Club member over on patreon.com. Those things start at $1 a month and go up with little things that you get at different tiers. All of those links in the description. There's PayPal, there's TeePublic. Those are the best ways to help support our content here on this channel. And if you don't want to do any of that, you can just smash the like button, be here, drop a comment on our videos. That's the best ways to help support our content here. And we thank you guys so much for spending some time with us tonight. Let's get back to some of these things here, some of these questions and comments you guys have. Southeastern Kaiju. Have you been here before, by the way? We got a lot of new names here from recent live streams, so I'm starting to get used to all of you. Our O-line and receiving crew seems a bit thin, though. Yes, it is. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It seems like it is to us. Is there a plan in place for it to fix it, or is the fix already there? We don't know. Coaches do, though. It'd be funny if Bryce Young transferred from Bama to Auburn. Yeah. The ultimate L, wouldn't it? Yes, I would agree that Bruce Pearl genuinely loves Auburn. Genuinely loves Auburn. I think he does, but you don't know what this guy's goals are. He may want to have been the quarterback, the coach at Kentucky one day. If that's in his wheelhouse, if that's what he wants and he has an opportunity to do it, you can't really fault him for taking it. But I truly believe that Bruce Pearl understands and appreciates what he's gotten himself into, and I mean that in a good way, here at Auburn, and wants to see that continue. A national title, once he's done that once or twice here, would probably at least consider that. I know I had to skip over a couple of these just to kind of keep up with everything. Auburn basketball doesn't let us down when it comes to beating Alabama. That's true. BVK checking in from Texas. Thanks for being here. We only got a few minutes left, but I appreciate you being here. Could Coach Harsin go over to the Golden Corral to recruit offensive linemen? Well, you see very creative ways these days to recruit anybody. Was it Mike's Steakhouse, I think, in Auburn, got all the offensive linemen on an NIL deal. I don't care what it is. Businesses, you know how to help Auburn now. Do it. Do you think Auburn is done getting QBs and now will focus on wide receivers? I kind of answered that already. I think my vision for them is that they're done with quarterbacks, and it's not that now they're focusing on wide receivers, no line. They've been doing it the whole time. I think that's the thing that we forget a lot, and I'm not saying you don't get this, Carrie, but just kind of addressing it in general. Just because we don't see the fruits of the labor doesn't mean that the fruits aren't growing. And sometimes, even if you did everything right to grow that fruit, sometimes it dies on the vine. So the wide receiver issues, whether you think it needs to be fixed by recruiting, coaching, whatever, are being addressed. Same thing with the offensive line. And it's just going to take a matter of patience on our hands to, to wait and figure out what that answer is. It could be recruiting. That could be coming. It could be transfers. Could just be time, patience, and coaching. It's really all it is. Lee asked for 2022, how many quarterbacks does Auburn have now? They have 4 scholarships, because I'm not sure of the state of Sawyer Payton and names like that. You got Holden Grenier, the new recruit. Sorry, I bumped the mic there. You got Zach Calzada, you got TJ Finley, and you got Demetrius Davis. That's your 4 options. I did a video, I think last week, about who will be the starting quarterback in terms of at this moment, who's I give the best chance to percentage-wise. Broke that down for reasons why. Go check that out if you haven't. That'll kind of help you understand that. Yeah, and everybody's kind of confirming that now. 4 in the competition. All right. Last minute comments, questions, get them in fast. If you have something else that we want to, because we're going to be wrapping up here in just a second, make sure you smash that like button if you haven't done so already. You guys have been a great crowd. Let me give you a heads up while you maybe post some last minute things here. I'm actually going to go ahead and close the phone line too as well. What to expect from us the coming weeks, coming days, actually. Saturday, we got a game against Ole Miss. We'll have a post-game show. About 15 minutes roughly, or no, actually right after that ends usually, just depending on setting all this up and things like that. So be here for that. Be subscribed along with the notification bell. Probably do a video after that about the memes that you guys post on Twitter if you take part in that. So that'll be coming out. Stay tuned for other news and other videos that we'll be doing throughout the week. And we've got other podcasts. Inside the Jungle, our basketball podcast with Chris and Gray Oldenburg. They're going to be breaking down the Alabama game very soon. That episode will either drop tomorrow or on Friday. And we're going to be getting started with our Auburn Roots series, where we let anybody tell their Auburn story. They'll be getting started very soon, so stay tuned for that. Trucked Picks does not want me to go. He says it several times. Well, unfortunately, I do have something that I have to do tonight. Thank you guys for I'm glad you guys enjoy this. And look, I know I'm just some schmo who has a YouTube channel, and there are many other great Auburn content creators out there. But I mean this genuinely, cannot speak tonight, from the bottom of my heart, that you guys are the best little family within the Auburn family. Here I am trying to have a heartfelt moment. I can't even talk. And I'm just very appreciative of those of you that just show up here, that like these videos, that comment on them, that just hang out with me for a few minutes. Those of you that are our Booster Club members, they're channel members, or both, you guys are the best. And I appreciate this support that you guys give so very much. Thank you guys very, very much. All right. That's going to be it for me tonight. Thanks for hanging out. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.